It's so great to be free to express yourself in all of the ways that you feel like you want to, and not to feel like because something is attributed to a certain gender or a certain idea that you can't also do that.
Yo, Simu, I am here for that Kenergy, man. The movie is phenomenal. It's fantastic. I absolutely loved it. It's smart, it's funny, but it has a great message. Can you talk to me about your approach to Ken to make him stand out from all the other Kens in the film?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that my goal was ever to stand out from all the other Kens in the film, but I will say some things did emerge. Shall we say in the backflip department? It was revealed very early on that that my Ken could backflip, and I didn't realize it at the time, but we were in the middle of dance rehearsal, and I kind of they were our choreographers, Lisa and Jen, were like looking for a move that kind of like swept across the screen and was like acrobatic, and I was like, all right, I think like I can. How about this? And I showed them something, and then they were like, oh, like they were like, we got to do this. And I remember Ryan was like, oh. And then so that in and of itself, like that was the perfect kind of reaction. And then Greta seeing it was like, that's it. That's in the movie. So it becomes a big plot point in the movie that my Ken can backflip and Ryan's can't. And it's something that drives Ryan's character, crazy with jealousy. And I think really sets the tone for our like hyper competitive rivalry / antagonistic relationship towards one another.
Tell me, how was your relationship with Barbie in the past, and did that understanding of Barbie change throughout the course of making this film?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I didn't really have a relationship with Barbie in the past. I don't know about you, but like I grew up in in a society where like traditional gender norms were like pretty heavily enforced and were pretty prevalent. And so, I think we, maybe me, maybe you, were taught from a very young age, like boys don't play with that. And you don't, yeah, like that just, boys don't wear pink. Boys don't, colors became gendered, toys became gendered. It was all of these rules that were imposed on us. And so Barbie was always like, oh, that was not my toy. That's like on the other team, And I'm so glad this movie exists because I really think it just puts that final nail in the coffin of this idea of like, of that just like very heteronormative idea of like what gender is and what is or is not gendered. How can you make a color gendered, over the course of this movie, I've seen, been around, worn, played with more pink than I ever thought possible, and it was so great. And it's so great to be free to express yourself in all of the ways that you feel like you want to, and not to feel like because something is attributed to a certain gender or a certain idea that you can't also do that. And so that's I think what's really struck me about being a part of this movie, what's evolved in my understanding of Barbie and what it is, and what I hope that audience will get from it when they watch the movie.
I mean, honestly, this movie is so well done. It's so well written. I want to change subjects for real quick. I'm a huge Power Ranger fan. I know you're a huge Power Ranger fan. Forever Red was phenomenal. Is it true that you really can quote like any line from like Forever Red?
I don't know if I could quote it, but may the power protect us all. Yeah, I mean, come on, man. That was like the greatest crossover event in history up until that point. Pretty incredible that you're also a Power Rangers fan. This is the second interview in a row that I referenced Power Rangers because I think we were talking about toys, and I was talking about how I played I played a lot of Power Rangers when I was a kid. I was a huge Power Rangers fan, so I had a lot of those toys. And we're talking about the representational element of Power Rangers, right? And how and I was like, oh yeah, I was figuring out in real time like why Power Rangers appealed to me so much. And I think it was because I always felt very much a part of that world. Like I felt like I was always represented. It was that was very on the nose representation. It was like black, black, yellow, yellow. But but still, it was, it wasn't perfect, but it was definitely there and it was definitely trying. And and then I kind of we were talking about Barbie and how Barbie, 50 years ago, even 20 years ago, looked very different than it does now. It was very strictly blonde, white, and evidenced by now, Issa getting her doll. There being so many different types of Barbies of different shapes, colors, sizes, gender expressions, that now, Barbie means a great deal of many things, and Ken can mean just as many things as well, and that's really cool. So that's your big Power Rangers question segue back into Barbie.
I love that you just did that because the film is quite amazing. I don't want to take any focus on that. It's one of the best films I've seen all year long. And the last question I have for you is, what did Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie bring to this movie to take it to a whole new level of comedy and commentary?
Knowing that Greta was is as just talented and intelligent of a storyteller as she is, you knew that she was going to create a story that was just really fresh and exciting and subversive and self-aware. And I think Margot, who also produced the movie, was just championed that so perfectly. And you have to really watch the movie to understand this, but like it is a feat to have gotten Mattel on board with this movie. Because this movie really goes there, and it attacks all the criticisms of Barbie in the past. It joins in on the conversation, and it's not just like a fluffy, cash grabby sort of like, oh, look at us, like we're fine, everything's perfect. Like there are some really, really scathing critiques of like the idea of Barbie, what Barbie has been or is, and also some really scathing critiques on Mattel as well. But which I love, but I think it really speaks to just how much everyone on board believed in the vision and the voice of this movie, that they were like, no, this conversation needs to happen, and Mattel needs to be in on this conversation, and we need to be a part of it, because that's the only way that we can move forward. That's the only way that we can get the audience on board with the story that we want to tell.
You did an incredible job. Thank you so much for your time. The film is fantastic. Like I said, one of the best films I've seen all year. Thank you so much for your time, Simu. I appreciate it.